Kathy discovered a free-range chicken on the beach. She initially thought the poor little thing was alone and intended to feed it some grilled steak. To her surprise, within a moment, she was surrounded. Kathy was clearly frightened and quickly tossed away the snacks in her hand. However, the group wasn't satisfied, and while the girl wasn't harmed, the isolated island was completely exposed. Although John's dream of a Jurassic Park was interrupted, the dinosaurs' development was unstoppable. Now, this secluded island has truly become a paradise for all kinds of dinosaurs. 3 years later, John assembled an expedition team to explore the dinosaur paradise, aiming to ensure that the dinosaurs could breed normally without human disturbance. The expedition would experience the charm of dinosaurs up close, and even, under safe conditions, touch and photograph the dinosaur babies. Though there were occasional mishaps, they were just normal dinosaur instincts, without fatal threats. Over the years, the dinosaur paradise had developed a complete ecosystem. Living on the outskirts were herbivores like Stegosaurus and Brachiosaurus, while in the core area were carnivores like Velociraptor and Tyrannosaurus rex. Originally, this group of dinosaurs would have continued to develop calmly until the appearance of a group of loaded humans, who clearly came for the dinosaurs, specializing in hunting dinosaur cubs, with a clear target and a decisive kill, together with modern professional equipment, and soon reaped a full harvest. Moreover, these people came from the same place as the expedition team. After John's previous plan failed, he fell seriously ill, and the company was taken over by his nephew. Unlike John, his nephew particularly valued the commercial potential of dinosaurs. After taking over the company, he sent professionals to hunt in the dinosaur paradise, taking the dinosaurs back to the city for profit. After a clash between modern technology and prehistoric titans, the dinosaurs were temporarily reduced to human playthings. The hunting team had an ultimate goal: the dominant predator of ancient times, the Tyrannosaurus rex. To lure out an adult T-Rex, the hunters captured a dinosaur baby, broke its leg, and tied it in a valley. The baby's agonizing cries echoed through the valley, while the hunters hid in the treetops, waiting for their prey. However, at that moment, after capturing many dinosaurs, the hunting team smugly prepared a press conference at their camp to showcase their strength. In their negligence, they left their prey unguarded. The expedition seized the rare opportunity. Thus, Ian and the others took the opportunity to release all the captured dinosaurs. The ending for the camp was, of course, devastating. Although the herbivorous dinosaurs wouldn't retaliate or seek revenge against their human captors, their natural aversion to fire still caused significant damage. At the same time, while the hunters were distracted, the expedition members managed to rescue the injured T-Rex baby and took it back for treatment. After Sarah's diagnosis, the baby only had a fractured leg, but such an injury could be fatal for a carnivore, so they tied the baby's upper and lower jaw together with a belt and manually set the bone. Just as the surgery was finished, a terrifying roar erupted in front of them. To find their missing baby, the T-Rex parents surrounded the armored vehicle. After a prolonged standoff, Sarah and the others realized the T-Rex didn't intend to attack. Summoning their courage, they picked up the baby, removed the restraint, and carefully returned it to the T-Rex. The family then happily hopped back into the forest, without troubling the expedition team. As Sarah and the others breathed a sigh of relief, they began studying the behavior of the T-Rex. But in the next moment, Ian, who was previously relaxed, suddenly grew tense. This was a clash between modern technology and prehistoric rulers, seeking revenge for their kidnapped baby. The T-Rex prepared to push the armored vehicle off a cliff. The expedition members were left hanging upside down from the vehicle, their lives hanging by a thread. Fortunately, Sarah landed on the front windshield, not falling directly off the cliff. Watching the cracks in the glass spread, Sarah moved slowly, trying to grasp the nearby handrail. At the same time, Ian slowly climbed down, trying to grab Sarah, but at that moment, a hanging walkie-talkie fell straight down. Lucky Sarah grabbed her backpack in time and narrowly escaped danger, but it wasn't time to relax yet. At a critical moment, the last member of the expedition arrived. Nick, hearing his teammates' calls, quickly found a rescue rope in the car, tied it to a dead tree on the cliff, and threw it in front of Ian and the others. But the ground, softened by rain, began to slide, and the armored vehicle slowly slid down. Nick quickly pulled out a steel cable from a winch, but it wasn't long enough, and Nick fell to the ground. At that time, Ian and the others tried to save themselves, climbing up the rope desperately, but after being soaked by rain, the rope became slippery. The three clung to the truck's edge as the vehicle's sliding speed increased. Nick got up and pulled out more steel cable from the winch, finally attaching it to the truck at the last moment. The steel cable snapped taut, and Nick then secured the rescue rope around the dead tree again. But trouble followed trouble. The car, dragged by the sliding truck, slowly moved toward the abyss. Nick quickly got into the car and floored the accelerator, gradually pulling the truck back to the edge. Meanwhile, Sarah and the others were trying to save themselves atop the cliff, but the soaked rope was challenging to handle, while everyone struggled on the edge of death. Nick suddenly felt something was wrong. The reckless engine noise had attracted a terrifying predator. Facing the watchful T-Rex, Nick remained still but kept his foot on the accelerator. Such blatant provocation enraged the T-Rex, which began to brutally destroy the car. Even when his life was at risk, Nick kept his foot on the accelerator. When the airbags deployed, Nick drew his gun, but the barrel jammed. Without the car's protection, Nick quickly became T-Rex food. The three were left hanging on the cliff, clutching the rope as their last lifeline. Soon, the exhausted group used their last strength to climb up, only to find a group waiting for them. The commotion had drawn the T-Rex and the hunting team, who had noticed their camp was destroyed by the dinosaurs released by Ian and the others. Both sides had lost equipment, and communications were down. They had to reach a temporary agreement, cooperating to head to the island center for help. There, abandoned communication equipment was their last link to the outside world, but the journey wasn't as smooth as they imagined, facing dangers from the jungle and dinosaurs. As they got closer to the island center, the sense of crisis grew stronger. They stuck together, not leaving their partners, but among them, some didn't understand the depth of the danger. While he was using the bathroom, he suddenly felt like someone was spying on him. Clearly startled by the little guy, he only left after dealing with the peeping Tom, but soon he was bewildered. Just turning a corner, he couldn't find the way back. He called out loudly for his companions but got no response. In the primeval forest, he wandered farther and farther, completely unaware of his surroundings. He was suddenly surrounded by a group of small dinosaurs that began to feast on the fresh prey. After a desperate struggle, he finally scared off the little dinosaurs, but the greedy creatures didn't flee. Instead, they stayed close, waiting for another opportunity to hunt. He ran while loudly calling for his teammates, occasionally driving them away. But in the end, alone, he couldn't escape his fate. In the primitive forest, everyone is at risk, so even if one person is missing they don't know. They still camp as usual and rest on the spot. But at midnight, Sarah saw clothes stained with dinosaur blood hanging on the tent and felt a bad premonition. The next moment, the ground shook, and she quickly extinguished the kerosene lamp. Yet the terrifying presence was already following the scent of blood. Sarah held her breath, not daring to make a sound, and tightly covered the girl's mouth beside her. Despite this, the T-Rex's presence startled the people. Everyone was awakened, and the chaotic sounds of their frantic escape angered the T-Rex, which made everyone scatter. The T-Rex pursued closely behind. A clever person lay in a puddle, thinking they could avoid danger, but they quickly became a victim under the T-Rex's feet. The panicked group sought refuge in a waterfall cave, narrowly avoiding disaster. The T-Rex's large head struggled for a moment, then left disinterested. The other scattered group wasn't as lucky. In their panic, they fled into the grasslands and unwittingly entered the domain of the velociraptors. In the open grass, they could only end up as prey for the velociraptors. Ian and his group had clubbed together during the escape, and since they had the experience of marching to the dinosaur park, they quickly found the abandoned amusement park according to the map, and also managed to turn on the radio equipment to contact the outside world. But the key right now is how to survive in this gap before rescue arrives, as this abandoned amusement park has now become a velociraptor's den. Soon, the group was attacked and surrounded by velociraptors. Sarah quickly hid inside a small hut, but it seemed like the battle-worn steel door wouldn't hold for long. So, the two swiftly dug a hole behind it. While outside, the velociraptors were digging their way in from underground. Sarah and her companion managed to dig a shallow pit, but the next moment,
Right behind.
since they couldn't escape downward, they decided to climb upwards, eventually reaching the top of the light well. However, the velociraptors continued to pursue them closely. Sarah was left hanging in midair, caught in a dilemma. At that moment, she had a sudden idea and removed a stack of tiles, causing the velociraptors to fall to the ground. The two creatures started fighting each other, ignoring their prey right in front of them. Sarah and her companion narrowly escaped with their lives. At the same time, a rescue helicopter arrived, allowing everyone to finally breathe a sigh of relief. But as they passed their former campsite, they made a shocking discovery. A fully grown Tyrannosaurus Rex had actually been captured by a hunting team, which was definitely bad news. Before the T-Rex could be transported to the city, the research company began preparing for a press conference, widely promoting the upcoming dinosaur exhibition, but they didn't realize that the ancient ruler was not something they could control. When the ship collided with the port, the confined T-Rex managed to escape. In the city, there was nothing that could restrain it. The T-Rex rampaged through the city's streets, unstoppable. A 100-ton bus became its plaything, and fleeing crowds became its prey. Soon, the entire city fell into a state of panic. It is only at this critical moment that Ian finally learns from the head of the company that they have caught not only an adult T-Rex but also one of its cubs. The T-Rex's rampage in the city was simply to find its child. Understanding the backstory, Ian and Sarah quickly sprang into action, successfully finding the T-Rex offspring at the research center. They lured the T-Rex back to the port and returned the offspring to the steel cage. Upon hearing the cries of the offspring, the head of the company still intended to pursue his dream of wealth. He sneaked into the cage, only to become the offspring's meal on its way home. In the end, the T-Rex mother and child were sent back to the dinosaur park, and a catastrophe that shouldn't have occurred came to a temporary end. However, the story of the dinosaur park didn't end there.